Hi everyone, and welcome back to iFilm. If you're new to the channel, hi, my name is Nathan Hayes, and on this channel I'm dedicated to helping you become the best videographer possible with using just your iPhone. As you can see, we are not in my home office. We are in Lake Louise, Alberta, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to become an expert on exposure using just your iPhone. Stay tuned. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to go into my iPhone settings and show you how to adjust your exposure manually and also in the default camera app so you can get the most cinematic videos possible. In this exposure introduction video, I'm going to go over what exposure is, how to turn on manual exposure on your iPhone using settings, and how to create the most cinematic videos possible by adjusting your exposure, not making it too bright and not making it too dim. Alright, so I'm not recording a video, this is just the screen recording. So we're in the default camera app, and now you can see that there's a little 30, a 4K, an arrow, and then a negative 0.3. So that negative 0.3 doesn't automatically come up, so I'm going to show you how to do that now by going into settings. So go into settings on your iPhone, then scroll down until you find the camera app. Click on the camera app and go into preserve settings just below record stereo sound. Preserve settings are settings for when you take photos and video, and if your phone will not automatically adjust back to the normal exposure that it reads. So you're going to go to exposure adjustment, preserve the exposure adjustment rather than automatically reset, and always show the exposure adjustment indicator. You're going to want to toggle that. If you have that off, because I had mine on, you're going to want to toggle exposure adjustment on. After that, you're going to go back into the camera app. Alright, so now back in the default iPhone camera app, at the bottom left of your screen, you'll see a 0.0 with a little meter. That is your exposure meter. You can adjust this in different ways by tapping down on the triangle, and then you have the exposure here. Alright, notice, remember, when you change exposure, the lighting will look different. So if I bring the lighting up, everything's gonna get bright, as you can see. That does not look good. So if we bring the light back down to 0, which is even, then you can start bringing the exposure down as well. Now notice negative 2.0, that is way too low. That does not look good. Although you can adjust this in post-production, you always want to start off with a baseline that you can then later on adjust. 0 is a good place to start, but I often like to go to negative 0.3 as it's proven when you have a lower exposure, your videos will become more cinematic. That's just how it appeals to the eye. Now try and play around with the exposure meter and get something that you like. Alright, now with topic 1 and 2 out of the way, now we're going to move on to topic number 3, how to create stunning videos with your exposure set. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and anytime when you're shooting video, you don't want to just start stationary. You want to bring your viewers into your video, and that's how you're going to get more views if you're doing a YouTube video, a social media video, or anything like that. So I'm going to bring my viewers in by tilting this down. Make sure you're steady on the rocks. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to bring my viewers in. Alright, another really big, one big misconception that people have is I'm just going to take this one video, I don't want to take up too much storage. Now, that could be the case if you're on an SLR or DSLR, but since you're on your iPhone saves your videos and photos into iCloud storage. What that means is that it's not exactly on your phone. Some of the photos are, but a high percentage of them are up in the cloud. So, meaning that you always want to take more footage than you think you'll need. Always get a different angle. And right now, waiting for sunrise, it is 6:02 a.m. Calgary time, and we're 607 kilometers away from home. That's a long way from home. We're coming out here to get the best footage possible, and let's jump right back into the video. All right, so like I said, now that you have your subject, make sure you tap focus. Notice that when I tap on the focus, a little bright kind of sun figure appears. So if I tap on that, put your finger on it and drag down, right? The image gets darker. Drag up, the image gets brighter. Now, that is doing the same effect when we adjust our exposure here. We're going up and coming back down. Notice here on the phone when I tap on it, when you tap, that creates the focus. And then you can adjust down and up the exposure. But if you're moving and you always want to have the same focus, here's a quick tip. Press on the screen where you want to focus, but press and hold it there. Once you have that, look at the top screen of your phone. It's going to say AEAF lock. That is auto exposure and auto focus lock. Now that you're in here, you still can adjust the exposure, but when you adjust the exposure, your camera is still going to focus on this part right here, right? You can see when I bring my hand in close, it does not change. It is staying loyal to focusing on that part on which you tapped. All right, so when you're taking video with your set exposure, you really want to invite the audience into what you're recording and what you're seeing. After all, they aren't where you are. So what I usually like to do is there's rocks here. There's some trees in the water. And what I like to do is I like to try and get those involved in the shot as much as possible. And this is gonna work out perfectly as well. I've got this orange rock here. We're still waiting for sunrise, but when that sunrise does come, it is gonna be beautiful, and I can include that in the shot and get a nice orangey color as well. Now, also when you're recording, you don't always have to be stationary up and down, doing a panel like that. You can kind of make the viewers get a little bit wiggy, right? Make it interesting. Add a little twist to it. From up above, hit record, tilt, bring down, even out the tilt. Get a stick. Notice when I brought it down, there's a stick right here in the foreground. That provides depth rather than just having it like that. Notice I am not moving my hand a lot. That is like 5 inches. 5 inches can make the difference, people. Again, so I'm looking at my surroundings, see what I can try and include in the shot. There's some trees right there. Let's go try and get those. Again, so I was moving around, trying to get the best shot possible. Now, when you have your set exposure, you really want to notice what you want to have in focus when you're shooting. So, if I tilt this around, right, we can get a cool shot. Kind of start low, bring it in, go out, and quick note. All right, so as you're recording, if you notice, I'm gonna flip around. If you notice on the top or in the middle right of your screen, a 0.5, that is your zoom. If I tap on that, boom, I've got more trees in the foreground. I've got some rocks involved, and I still get the mountains in the background. But be careful with this, because if you do bring something close here, right, you can see that your hand to the tree is going to be a little bit distorted. So choose when you do want to use this. For me right now, as a videographer, I really like those rocks in the foreground of my clip. So I'm going to keep this 0.5, but as you're recording, unless you're using a gimbal or tripod, which I will demonstrate later, try and hold your phone as smooth as possible. This will make your viewers' experience so much better. Alright, so now I'm going to start a clip with the tree in focus, and then I'm going to slide to the left and include the mountains in the background. Right now, again, I'm a little bit loosey-goosey. When you're recording, try and stay as level as possible. Alright, getting back to exposure. Just a really simple tip here, right? You've got your start and stop button on your right hand side. You got your exposure, you got your flash. Now that you've enabled the exposure to be manual and be on the left side of your screen, tap on it. This pops up, and really make sure you play around, because I don't want to be rude, but I don't think someone's going to want to look at that, right? It's really difficult to make out the clouds, and when you bring up the brightness, everything turns more white. And see, if we bring it down even, you can notice that those glaciers are white with a semi-white background. So if you bring it up, everything goes out of distortion, and it looks like there's a sun back there, which is not good. So what you want to do is you want to pay attention to your surroundings, right? So if I turn to this tree here and I bring my exposure up, think about it logically. This tree did get brighter, but when you bring the exposure up, everything gets whiter. So all the whites are really going to be distorted and are really going to be bright. If we bring that down back to normal, you can see top left of the screen coming back. And then again, I usually like to have my video recording at negative 0.3. And if you're filming and you're on your iPhone, you can also edit this in post-production using iMovie, or if you're on a Mac, Final Cut Pro, or other editing softwares. Color of your subject, for me, with the mountains and the lake, if you're filming a person, if they're wearing something dark or light, make sure you're aware of that, because when you adjust the exposure, your subject will change as well. Topic number 1, what exposure is. Exposure is the adjustment of light on your camera's lens. So, quick demonstration. I'm going to adjust the exposure right here. You can tell by guess that got brighter. Bring it all the way down. That's way too dim. Alright, that's it for this video. A quick recap. Number 1, exposure is how much light your lens lets in. Remember, not too much and not too little. Make sure you have that happy medium. Number 2, to turn on manual exposure, you can always adjust it by tapping the triangle at the top of your screen, or you can go into settings, go into preserve settings, and then tap on exposure adjustment. Number 3, how to get more cinematic videos with your exposure. Always invite your audience into your shot. Remember, I had things in the foreground, and I had the mountains in the background, and I had a really nice reflection off the lake. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you come here and get to experience this at sunrise, and we'll catch you in the next video.